Alright, we're back. Okay, we're going to put the top cover on now, so gotta get our gasket gooped up. And the cover's over here. Already trial checked to make sure it all shifted okay before. Okay, right now we are in neutral right now. So we got to make sure that this is in neutral over here. So that's in neutral, that one is in neutral. Make sure your bushings are on here too like they're supposed to be. So those are all in there. Now why are our forks at different angles here? They're not supposed to be at different angles like that. That's weird. That is not good. Huh. I didn't notice that before. That's at a completely different angle than this one. They are not supposed to be at a different angle. That means something is put together wrong. That is not good. It's a hell of a time to find out about that because it's all buttoned up. I gotta completely pull things apart to change that out. So these here can go on in two different 180 apart from each other. It'll change the where the angle of this is. So I'm guessing this one's wrong. It's too low. This one looks more correct. So if these are in the wrong angles, they don't engage up here correctly. That means I got to undo the sprocket, pull this goop all off, put it back on there, and then I got to redo the goop too. But yeah, that's a hell of a time to find out there's a problem. This one's so darn low, it's not really going to engage correctly. See how it's not going directly into the drum? It's angled way forward. This one over here, on the other hand, is probably going there a lot straighter. Even it's a little off too. Yeah. That one's way off. Yeah. Well, that's a sucker. Nothing like having stuff put together wrong. These were put together wrong. I didn't notice that before. I should have noticed that. It's pretty obvious it's off. Oh well. Time to redo stuff. Okay, I'm going to have to go find me a book and double check on that, what that's supposed to be. One time a servo book come in handy. If I had to guess, this one's off. 100%. This one here is off. And there's no way of fixing it until you take the whole shaft out, which means the sprocket has to come off too. But luckily all this other stuff doesn't have to come off. It's going to be a little bit harder to get the shaft out with all that glue on it, but I'll manage. Hopefully. The pin for getting that's over here. So hopefully I have to pull that back off too. Alright, yeah, I'll be back. Okay, when I got my service book here, so this is the genuine Harley one here from 1974. And this one here is one of Dad's old copies he used to sell. I got a few left too. These are the Knucklehead book from 40 to 47, service manual. So this book didn't have squat in it. So if you can't find what you need, go to an older book. That's the key. So this book here, they talk about the shift forks, but don't talk about how they're supposed to be. So if you go in here, read all about it. There's the forks out. shift forks right over here. So they talk about, problem with old books is you don't want to fold them down too far. They break the spines out of them. Let's see, I'll put this over here. There we go. So, I'll turn the light off. Yeah, maybe have it on. So over here, it tells you how to take them apart, inspect them, and then for assembly, it says assemble shift forks in reverse of disassembly order, making sure parts are not transposed. Oh, you mean like flipping them upside down backwards? You mean like one of these is? That is the extent of what they tell you what to do about that. They don't tell you any kind of a reference on what is correct or not correct. There's no pictures, so you're pretty much you're up your ass. You ain't got nothing. They're screwing you. Okay, so that's the 70s book, which is a copy of a 60s book, which is probably a copy of the older ones. But we're going to go ahead and pull out the old book. Old books tend to have more information because people actually worked on their bikes back then, unlike the new ones. So this is one of Dad's books. So these were made back in the mid-70s up in LA. I think they're made in Santa Ana. So Dad bought a bunch of these back in the day. So these are copies off an original book. So it has really good pictures on them. These are nice glossy books, real nice quality ones. So even though it's a knucklehead book, it has a lot of 45 stuff. And these pictures here are all 45 bucks. So it also has UL mixed in here too. So let's go to the transmission section. Yeah, see there's a knucklehead right there. See, it looks like a 45 flathead, but no, it's a knucklehead. Yeah, sure it is. Okay. Maybe we're going to claim it's a UL. Carburetor. They do have some nice assembly pictures of what bikes look like together, which is what I like. That's how you tell to restore a bike. You look at these pictures real closely, having around what they're doing. You can see how they're supposed to be. Look how nice and detailed these pictures are. These are actually photos. These are not drawings. Okay, let's see here. Shift forks. Removing shift fork. Removing cluster gear. Remove counter shaft. Look how nice it's laid out so you know exactly where you are. Inspecting parts. Removing shift fork shaft bushing. Let's see. Each section of cover not to exceed 300 degrees. You're not supposed to heat it up to more than 300 degrees. That's nice. Tap on it with wood block. Clean all parts. Here they're talking about slots and grooves. Okay. Inspect all bushings, bearing races, and worn or extent, and gives us close back attention possible. Rounded condition, shifter engagement dogs, gears engagement dogs. Okay, that's about shift dogs. Tell me what I want to know. Just telling you looking for bad parts. We already did all that. Stolen counter shaft, stolen shift forks. They don't tell me either. We got a lot more detail in here, but not telling me what I want to know. It's all about the shifter cam. Yeah, I didn't really tell. They told you which way to put the bushing in on the shaft up here, with threaded parts to the outside, which we did. They didn't talk about which way the finger goes onto the bushing sleeve, which is what I want to know. That is the key. Alright, well, let me look through this a little bit better. It's going to be a lot of reading here. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, so after reading all that stuff, they sure didn't tell you, but they said look at the pictures really close and you can tell which way things are supposed to be. So here are your fork assemblies right here, but you can't tell an angle by looking at a picture at that angle. You can't see what the slot is right here on that piece or that piece to tell which way they're supposed to go together. So it makes it really difficult to figure out. Now you can see the slot in this picture here. See the slot going across, but you don't know where this one is relative to that. So over here in the instructions, they tell you to look at more pictures, basically. So, one more page. There it is. So over here is all of the assembly stuff. Is right down. That blown up real heavy. So here's all the stuff about the assembly of the bushings and how to put them in. They tell you how to use a 100 thou thickness gauge on the high gear and 75 on the other gear, on the low gear, to set your shift fork alignment. They never tell you about that crap in the newer books. So these old books have a lot more detail to them. They got a lot of good pictures here showing what stuff looks like, but you can't really see the angle of what this stuff is supposed to be at from these views. So all I know is I want this bushing to be, this pin to be perpendicular inside that drum when it's assembled correctly. I do know that for sure. That's what I want. The problem is they don't tell you what that actually is. They give you a lot of good information in that book, but not enough. This book here has about a third of what this has for information. It's the same tranny, so makes a difference. So right now, one of these two is off. If I had to guess, it's this one. Now, what I don't know is how do you tell what the angle of this thing is when it's assembled. No way to tell them. I don't know how you would tell. So that's a big problem. Now if we use a tool, that's kind of a reference idea. Maybe that'll tell me which way one's off. I don't know. All I know is one of them's off. Now, I don't have a lot of parts laying around here at the shop, so finding original parts is going to be hard to tell right now. Now we know this goes on here like this. It goes on there like this. There we go. So which one's off? This one's pointed downhill, this one's right up against the surface where it's contacting really nice, but which way is it supposed to be? I don't know. So once again, if I had to guess, I'd guess that one's probably correct. But I don't know at this point. That is the problem. So what I'm going to have to do is go on a search around here and try to find some more parts that are known to be correct. And I got one transmission in pieces that's buried in here. I have to go dig it out tomorrow. Now this is not dragging in there, see, it's free. It's got clearance on it, see? And it's perpendicular to the way this thing is cut. So if I had to guess, I'd say that is definitely the correct way. That one's correct. This one over here, if I had to guess, is the one that's wrong. So if this is the shape of the barrel of the drum, you can see how it's trying to come out of the drum, whereas this one's poked up in there pretty good. So once again, I think this is the one that's wrong. But how do you prove it? That's the problem. Yeah. Good question. All right. To be determined. We'll have a go at this again tomorrow.